Good morning and welcome to the Hobby Second Breakfast Show. In today's video we're going to be doing some list building for Star Wars Legion. So welcome to the video. In today's video we're going to be building a list based around Din Djarin and Luke Skywalker. This is going to be sort of similar to a list I recently took to a tournament, did fairly well at the tournament. In the original iteration it had Luke, Leia and Wicket. I really enjoyed using Luke, wasn't quite so sure about the other two, so we're going to build it around Luke, although we may add in one of the other two later on. So to start off with, we're going to have a look at the two heroes that we've got here. So starting off with Din Djarin, he is a bit of an interesting one. He's very quick, very agile, especially when you give him his jetpack. And while he does have some ranged options, he also seems to excel quite a lot in melee as well. Very tough with defensive surges on red die, and he gets his independent aim 1 and dodge 1. Then moving over to Luke Skywalker, he's just a bit of a beast in close combat. Doesn't have the surges to defend, but 7 health, got deflect, and surges to crit in attack as well with 7 black dice, so he's able to put out some really good damage. Now to start off with, we're going to kit out these guys, and then we're going to come back and have a look at the other units later on. So you already see here I've added in Grogu for Din Djarin. This is more of a themey choice than anything else. I'm not entirely sure how good he is, but yeah, he's an interesting one. He has sort of an upside and a downside. His upside is that he has this ability Latent Power. What this enables you to do is at the end of your activation, you roll a red defense die if you choose. And on a sort of surge result, you can hand out some suppression and some immobilize tokens to an enemy. And on a blank result, you can remove a wound from a friendly trooper. So that's quite a nice ability to have in your back pocket. Maybe not use all the time because it does give you that suppression, but an interesting one to have. The downside is he has the keyword hunted. So if he's killed, as in with Din Djarin, the opponent gains a victory point just as if they had sort of completed their bounty objective. Now, obviously they have the keyword small and counterpart as well. So basically him and Din Djarin combined to make a sort of 6 health unit. You can kind of think of it like that. Although you have to defeat Grogu before you defeat Din Djarin. So equipping Din, first thing is the choice between the Beskar Spear and the Anban Rifle. Now they both have upsides and downsides. Obviously the Beskar Spear gives him a bit more of a punch in close combat and a bit more resistant to sort of Jedi and Pierce units. I'm going to opt to give him the Anban Rifle just because it may be a little bit more versatile, and for what I'm going to use it for, which I'll explain later, it's actually really useful. Now, in terms of upgrades, it's quite hard to sort of know what to give him. Kind of depends what you're going to do with him. Here, I'm going to opt to give him Tenacity because I am going to be trying to run him as sort of an up-close melee unit. I'm not going to give him any more of those upgrades there. For this one here, I'm going to opt to give him his Flame Projector, which gives him a bit more punch in sort of those close combat situations, and I'm also going to give him his Jetpack. So that gives him a max move speed of 3 and gives him jump 2, so it makes him able to sort of move around the battlefield much more effectively. I'm also, and again I'll explain more about this later, going to give him Comms Relay, and again talk about this one in a moment. Now when it comes to Luke's upgrades, I think it's pretty easy to decide here. I'm going to give him Tenacity, again gives him more of a punch when he's in close combat, giving him 7 black and 1 red. For his upgrades, I'm going to give him Force Reflexes, Force Push, and for the moment Force Barrier, although we may come back to this one more later. I think there's definite arguments for like Saber Throw or maybe even Force Guidance as well if you wanted to give him those. Even Burst of Speed as well, although I'm not such a big fan of Burst of Speed when they already have a max move speed of 2. Cool. Now, that's our 2 operatives taken up. We are going to need to add in a commander. Now, there's loads of options here, and I think there's definite arguments for something like Cassian maybe, or Lando. I'm going to opt to take Leia, and I'll explain more about this in a second. I really think Leia's really solid, not a great damage dealer, but in terms of supporting your army, I think she does a really good job. Now, she already has Take Cover 2 innate, so I'm going to opt to add on Portable Scanner, giving her Take Cover 3. This enables her to hand out 3 dodge tokens per turn. Next one we're going to equip her with, and I think in this case, we may not actually need to give her any upgrades for now. I'll put Lead by Example on, but that may well get taken off later if we're a bit tight for points. So we've already spent 480 points and we've only got 3 models, well 4 if you count Grogu, into the army. So what we need to do now is take some sort of maybe slightly cheaper core units as our sort of to enable our activation count to stay fairly high. The ones I'm going to take first are the Rebel Veterans, and on top of those I'm going to add in the Medium Blaster Trooper. Veterans are really solid, they get surges to defend and to hit, so that's really nice, and when they're given an order they get a free dodge token, so that's really nice. In terms of upgrades, I'm going to put the C093 on them, and I don't think for now we'll put the Royal Veteran on because we may run a little bit light for points. And I'm not going to opt to take any upgrades on the Medium Blaster Trooper. I think you could definitely give them Link Targeting Array, give them that aim token when they get an order, but in this case I'm not going to opt to do that. To fill out that other core slot, I'm going to put in some Rebel Troopers. Rebel Troopers, really nice. The nimble keyword, if they can get that dodge token, is super nice. In terms of upgrades, I'm going to give them the DLT, just gives them a bit more punch at sort of slightly longer ranges, which is really nice. And I am going to give them the Rebel Trooper Specialist. Reason for this is you can exhaust this to give them a dodge token to get that nimble sort of thing rolling if you are a bit worried about being shot. This is where things get a bit of a curveball, so we now have everything we kind of need for the army. I'm going to start to add in a few extra bits. Now, if you've seen the video from before, you'll know what's coming. I'm going to put in a unit of Ewok skirmishers. I'm going to give them the Axe Ewok, and I'm going to give them Tenacity. Now, what this should enable them to do is go along with Luke and with Mando to sort of give more a bit of a punch to those attacks. Worth noting, again, the dice pool for the Ewok skirmishers at this point is 6 black and a red with the Axe Ewok. So that's definitely really powerful, and they get Pierce and Impact 1, which is really nice. Final few activations which you need to fill out. I'm going to put in 2 units of slingers, and I'm not going to bother to put any upgrades on them at all. Reason for this is I think they're just really nice to have running around. Even if they're not given an order, they get a surge token, which generally when you're throwing out those 6 black, you're going to surge one of those to become a hit. So yeah, just really nice for 35 points, give a bit of punch, and with that low profile, they're sort of tougher than you might otherwise expect. We do have 2 points to spare, so with those 2 points, I'm going to put Recon Intel onto the Rebel Veterans. All that will enable them to do is give them Scout 1, and that enables you to sort of leapfrog them and the Medium Blast Trooper a bit further forward to sort of give you a bit of an advantage in those sort of engagements in the middle of the board. So that's it. That's the full 800 points. I think 9 activations is fine. We've got 2 very powerful heroes in Din Djarin and Luke Skywalker. They are between them sort of, I think, almost half the army exactly. And then you've got Leia and some core units just to fill out the rest of the activations. In terms of command cards, now, not entirely sure what to go with here, but I think for me, Son of Skywalker is a bit of a must take. I really like You Serve Your Master Well. I think it's just a little bit tricky to use correctly. If you are really good at the game, I'm sure you'll get good value from this one. It's definitely a good card. I'm going to opt to take This Is the Way with Din Djarin, and I'll explain how that all fits together in just a second. For the 2 pips, I'm going to opt to take No Time for Sorrows. I think this is just a really nice one for claiming objectives and pushing your units forward a bit. And I'm going to take I Like Those Odds from Din Djarin. Finally, the 3 pips is kind of where it gets a bit weaker. Whistling Birds, I'm not such a big fan of. It feels like a big commitment. 3 pips is quite a slow activation. So I'm going to take Covering Fire, which synergizes quite well with what I'm trying to do with dodge tokens. And I'm going to take Return of the Jedi, because this gives Luke an order and enables you to remove some suppression. Yeah, so in terms of my command cards, part of the reason I've taken Comms Relay on Din Djarin is because of his independent aim and dodge 1. So if you give him an order, in my opinion, you're kind of taking away from a lot of what his value is, which is getting these free tokens every turn, especially when he's also getting tactical and his weapons come with long shot and lethal, where you can spend those aim tokens to improve those dice. So what I'm going to do with the comms relay, which enables you to, I'll find the card, which enables you to choose a friendly unit where you wanted to and give that order instead. Rather than giving the order from Mando's cards to Mando, I'm going to give them to Luke instead, and that will enable Mando to hold on to his aim and his free aim and dodge. Now, that may not always be the case. It may occasionally be correct to give Mando the order just because you need him to activate quite urgently. Also, with his flame projector, because he has Arsenal 2, it will enable him to use that and his blaster as well, which I'm hoping will be able to wipe out some core units pretty effectively. And of course, with his inbuilt vibro knife where he gets 2 black, and with the Amban rifle giving you an extra 3 black, with his Arsenal 2, he will be rolling 5 black in close combat, which is pretty good, especially with surges to crit. Obviously, if he gets wounded, that will go to 5 black and a red with surges to crit, which is really decent, especially with the amount of aims and dodges he will be churning out. Now, the idea of this list is basically Mando will zip around the board and hopefully be able to claim his bounty if they've got a weaker hero at the back. Alternatively, if they do have one big threat, you know, your Vaders or your Yodas of this world, Mando can go in first because he gets surges to defend on red dice, and he has impervious as well. So even if he's getting hit with Pierce, he actually isn't super vulnerable to it. He can then hopefully tie them up using the Amban rifle, which comes with Immobilize 2 and Suppressive, which basically makes it impossible for the enemy to sort of retreat if they're hit by this weapon in close combat. And then Luke can come in, do what he does best, charge in, do some damage, and then hopefully, if we're able to deal enough that puts them in range of being killed, we can bring in Son of Skywalker, and that will do enough damage to finish them off in close combat. Basically, the rest of it is just activation fillers and trying to sort of have fairly tough units that will be able to take up defensible positions and just be enough of a threat that we can just use our 2 big heroes to charge around. If the skirmishers are in range, I think we'll definitely try and get some value from them because, yeah, that 6 black and a red from those skirmishers is definitely, well, it's not that far off Luke and Mando in terms of damage output, even if it is only for 1 or 2 turns, because they probably will get killed pretty quickly. Yeah, command cards. Obviously, we've got Son of Skywalker, which I think is really good. This is the way. Giving Din Relentless is really nice because it might be on that turn where you leap across the board using those 2 speed 3 moves and engage your enemy. Like, that gives you such a big threat range. And especially if I've given the order token to Luke as well, that would let me choose. So it might be that Mando, whenever I draw it from the stack, he just leaps across and engages them. Hopefully, you know, doesn't take too many wounds in that close combat. And then Luke is able to join him as well, or even using force push to maybe pull him towards him and get him into range. I like those odds. Similar idea. If he didn't have an order, he's actually gaining effectively 2 aims and dodge thanks to his independent. And this basically lets him attack twice, so it's kind of like pseudo gunslinger. This, hopefully, in combination with the flamer, may let you sort of kill a unit in close combat and then kill another unit nearby or do a lot of damage to another unit nearby. The 3 pips are definitely where it's weakest. Covering fire is fine. I think just dishing out a couple of aim tokens is pretty solid, but nothing special. And again, with Return of the Jedi, getting that dodge token when you're issued an order is quite nice. Just lets you have deflect up in case you're getting shot. And if you do need to remove suppression, so maybe later in the game where you're getting sort of suppression bombed a bit, it might be nice just to ping off a few of those suppressions to give those units a chance to activate. Cool. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope this wasn't too cringeworthy for people who know a lot about Legion. I am still fairly new to the game, and I'm just sort of adapting a list that I've already taken to a tournament and has done okay. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how you all react to this one in the comments. These list building videos will come out probably every other week in sort of conjunction with the rest of the content on the channel. And yeah, we'll be moving through Rebels, Empire, probably not Separatists because I don't have any interest in building those lists, but I know Mayor has some interest in those lists, so maybe we'll get him on so we can talk about that. And I'm hoping to get Onod on as well to talk about the Republic and some Wookiees, but we'll see how we go. Cool. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.